Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Steve with Real Progressives. It's coming up at the 11 o'clock hour, Eastern Standard Time. Tonight is a special message to what I'm calling the initiated. For those people out there who know what MMT is, and for those people who have been out there fighting the good fight. This is not a seeker message. This is for those who are already knee-deep in the fight, knee-deep in spreading the word, knee-deep in working hard to change hearts and minds. For, people who otherwise would just be championing reducing the deficit, who would be championing all the other nonsense that has put us in this hole. The way I went through this process was, it's been well documented, coming from a Republican background and having lost just about everything, and having the lights go on pretty much at the same time was kind of like a perfect storm, which is why all these years later, I'm still on fire as if it was my first day learning this stuff. It's that big a deal. It's that life-changing, But I found it's important, I think, for people to understand this process of transition as you're working through this knowledge that has just absolutely changed how you view not only government and politics, but the world. It opens up your mind to how it works everywhere, right? All the political arguments that you used to get in with your friends seem boring now because you realize they're founded in bullshit. And you end up having a lot of problems talking with people, right? Because they want to talk to you about all the old stuff that you already know is bunk, that you've already been disabused of yourself. And now you've got a choice, right? Now you got a choice. You got to talk to them in their language. You got to try and bring them over to your language, or you end up breaking up and having a fight or whatever, because so much of what we know or think we know has got nothing to do with knowledge at all. It's a belief. It's a belief system, right? It's a belief like, hey, I believe she loves me. Well, maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. But the fact is that it's still just a belief. And when you violate people's beliefs and when you violate your own beliefs, this is tough stuff. I remember, for those of you who come through the door the way I did, through the Republican door before you became progressive or whatever, I remember revering, of all people, Ronald Reagan, right? I remember my family revering Ronald Reagan. And I remember thinking, I'm so proud of this president. He stands there majestically, chin held high, flags waving. It just felt like you were in the middle of the most patriotic freaking, Leni Riefenstahl propaganda film ever, right? But that was the picture you had, and you believed this stuff. This is stuff you believed, It wasn't necessarily facts. It was beliefs. And so as you go through this process, right, of learning more and more and more about how economics is, more and more of the beliefs that you had that held your old belief system together start falling apart. Now you got to reconfigure all these political ideas that you had yesterday that are no longer valid today, now that you understand that your political beliefs yesterday were founded in complete and utter bullshit, right? It's not even snake oil. It's just cockamamie crap, right? And so as you talk to people, you talk to Republicans, you talk to Democrats, they're both completely full of beliefs. None of the stuff that they're talking about, almost none of it is founded in reality. You got Republicans as a whole, conservatives in general, and that crosses over the duopoly, both sides, right? People that are genuinely fearful of stuff. Most of the beliefs they have are based in what they fear most. They base their whole existence on feeling safe. And so, when you have people that are like that, you got to know how to talk to them, right? Well, for those of you who came out of that, this is one of those things where you end up realizing, hey, my pathway, I had to go through a lot of those cockamamie beliefs too, right? I had to break out of that shiznat too. And so there's an opportunity for conversation, right? There's an opportunity for conversation. Unfortunately, here's the problem. Having been a Democrat, having been a Republican, and having been an LOL libertarian, I speak different languages. I'm like, I have multiple ways of saying the same thing to different people. And I realize that when you're talking to Democrats, for example, they really, really have been conditioned to believe they're the grown-ups in the room. They really believe that they are coming in to save the day. That without them, the world would fall apart. That they always come in and fix the fiscal mess the GOP left. GOP left us in tatters with all these deficits. Us Democrats are going to come in here and fix it and reduce all the private savings. Deficits. We're going to reduce all your private savings and celebrate that, as deficit reduction. They don't realize it. And so from their angle, they think they're being responsible. They really do. They really believe that they're doing the right thing. Because if we don't reduce the deficit, after all, the country is going to go bankrupt. They don't know. They don't understand. They don't understand. On one hand, they're telling you that they want all these great programs. But on the back end, their economics are wholly dependent on rich people. We got to go after rich people's money. Otherwise, we don't have programs. And you say to yourself, well, see, so how many beliefs are wrapped up into that? How much of that is founded in beliefs? Almost all of it. Because money doesn't grow on rich people. Money comes, real money, the money that is spent into the economy and stays there, that money comes from the federal government. The money that is real, super temporary, like a loan, or, you buy a car, you pay off the loan, all of a sudden it zeroes out. You got a car now. That's the real resource. But the paper dollars, the reserves in the account, etc., they zero out except for the interest. But they really believe that they've got to get that money from them to be able to have nice things for them. Okay? So this is another belief system. And there's not much you can do about it other than be long-suffering. You can point out the truth. What I've decided, rightly or wrongly, is that Democrats like to believe that they're there to help the little guy. They've conditioned themselves to believe that they're out for the little guy. But reality is that the Democratic Party doesn't fight for the little guy. The Democratic Party fights for Wall Street. This is, it's been this way for quite a while, actually. They give you the verbiage that makes you feel good. We're going to get you health care. Health care should be a right. We're going to go ahead and go for green energy because green energy should be there. But then what do? Healthcare, they sell out to the friggin' ACA, which is a private sector solution, which makes libertarians and the like happy. The flip side is that when you talk about green energy, instead of going after green energy, they go after expanding fracking. Okay? So we're not talking about a party that delivers on the quote-unquote values that it claims it supports. So these beliefs are generated by years and years of propaganda. Or maybe even thinking about the old days when quote-unquote FDR was pushing the real people's agenda, okay? That hasn't happened in many, many, many years, okay? So as somebody who walked through those doors and talked to these people, hey, Ronnie, these people, in their mind, in their heart of hearts, they believe this inside and out. So you can't get them with facts. Facts are not going to be the thing that wins the day with them. Facts are not going to be what wins the day. You've got to sort of show them the results of this. Tie in the results of this. Show the people suffering. Show the people in the inner cities suffering because we've cut federal spending. Okay? Show them that the state governments are suffering because of cutting federal spending. Show them that across the board, people don't have disposable income. So what happens? All of a sudden now Toys R Us goes out of business. Why'd Toys R Us go out of business? people still want toys, right? Toys R Us may have gone out of business for a number of things, but one of the things that they went out of business for is that the regular people that actually shop at Toys R Us, they don't have any disposable income. They may be employed, but they're people that are now baristas at some coffee shop. They're not actually doing professional level work that pays a wage that is that is useful enough to be able to get their kids a toy. So guess what? Now all of a sudden Toys R Us is out of business. You look at Paul Ryan right now. Paul Ryan is busy saying, 2018, we're going to have to get on with the business of cutting the social safety nets, because now that we've cut taxes, we're going to have this big delta on the other side. So we've now got to cut Medicare, and we've now got to cut Social Security, and we got to cut all these things because we got to reduce the deficit. Well, this is what Democrats say all the time. Think about how many Democrats have you seen screaming, we got to reduce the deficit? The deficit on the government side is a surplus on the other side of the ledger. Double entry accounting? Somebody's got to have an asset. If they've got a debt over here, there's an asset over here. If there's a deficit here, there's a surplus here. The government is the currency issuer. Period. So, anyway, I say this stuff as a person who has been Republican and who has been a Democrat and who's been a libertarian. They all have a different angle at this. Libertarians, what do they want? The libertarians want maximum freedom. They don't want the state interfering in their lives at all. They want a state so small that it's practically non-existent, that all it does is protect their personal property. Right? That's all they want. They are big on personal property. They're big on stay out of my business. They're big on a host of things. Now, I have a great deal of sympathy for civil libertarians, right? I want you staying out of my text messages. I want you staying out of my Facebook feed. I want you staying out of my bank account. I want you staying off my phone calls, okay? So I don't want you spying on me. Don't want you checking me out. I'm not doing anything wrong. I just don't want you up in it. I want you backing the heck off, right? So I get the libertarian view. I want the NSA diminished. I want, our right to a reasonable belief that we have privacy to be upheld and to matter, right? So there's your libertarian side, the side that makes sense, okay? But then the libertarians not knowing economics. Libertarians might be the worst at economics on the face of the planet. Like nothing worse than a libertarian when it comes to economics. So these guys have a very, very faulty view of economics. They believe in gold. Why do they believe in gold and all that stuff? Because they don't want the state to have any power. Okay? So by having gold, that enables them to do what they want. But the difference is that it was never like that. It's never been like that. You're not going to run to the store with a backpack full of gold nuggets. It's not going to work out. It's just not going to work out like that. You're going to end up having some sort of a paper system, just like it's always been. Okay? Even when we had the gold standard, we had a fiat system. The only difference was we were constrained in what we could do with our fiat based on the gold. It wasn't like we were running around with gold nuggets, biting on the gold. Yeah, here you go, Chauncey. Have some gold. That wasn't it. It was pieces of paper still. The only difference is we limited the amount of paper in circulation based on the gold we had. Well, all that did was prevented us from being able to meet the needs of the people. It didn't really do anything. It constrained us. It hurt us. Unfortunately, just like any good hammer can be used to bash someone over the head with it, or it can be used to build a beautiful home, right? So it depends on what you're using the hammer for. It also depends on what you're doing with your economy. If you go ahead and you have this economy that can support the people are going to be genuinely happy. They're going to be fed. They're going to have clothing. They're going to have shelter. They're going to be okay. Well, libertarians don't quite get this. They don't really understand the fact that money comes from the state. Or maybe they do understand that, and that's what they hate the most about it. I don't know. But the fact is that when you talk to libertarians, and I've got a bunch of libertarian friends that have really bought into MMT, they realize that many of the things that they love and believe in still can be perfectly fine and natural and okay understanding MMT, and they no longer see it as a threat. We had Nima come on here a while back. He and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but when it comes to that, we sure did. And there's a guy named Marshall Rovner. Now, Marshall, if you're watching, I know you follow me and I appreciate it, but Marshall is here in Pennsylvania. Marshall's a libertarian. Marshall's constantly in my back door giving me tons and tons of praise and encouragement, letting me know that I have libertarian friends that support what I'm doing as well. I'm not a libertarian, but I support everybody. That I want everybody to get this, because at the end of the day, if we get this, then we don't have to have stupid, nonsensical fights about nothing. Instead of it being about scarcity of pieces of paper, it's now instead purely about what do we want to do with society. So I see Lisa Navarro says MMT question mark. MMT stands for modern monetary theory. But if you get rid of the word MMT, what it stands for is a description down to the nth degree of how the economy works, how the federal financing works today. It's not some new system. It's not anything special. It's just a description of how the system works, minus all the myths, legends, and tap dancing that they put in front of it. You know, people, when they want to retain power, try and make things all mystical. You know, they try and baffle you with bullshit. And so I was on the phone earlier tonight with John Lawrence. And, you know, we came up, it was like one of those jinx, really exciting moments. So I'm going to give John credit for this because we were both talking through it. I don't know who came up with it, but at the end of the day, we were joking about Christianity. And, you know, I'm a Christian, and he's sympathetic but not a Christian. And as we talked through this, one of the things we said was that if you look at it, Martin Luther was like the MMT of Christianity, right? Catholicism is full of rote religion. It's like touching beads. It's doing symbols. It's doing hand gestures. It's doing different rituals that you have to do, so on and so forth, to get to where you need to be. It's a lot of workspace stuff, etc. Well, Martin Luther said, let's get rid of all the friggin' nonsensical, non-operational reality things, and let's just go straight over here to getting saved. Right now, I'm just telling you from a Christian perspective, right? Martin Luther said, it's a bunch of noise. It's a bunch of gibberish. It's just a bunch of tap dancing. Let's go ahead and just stick with the game plan, man. Hey, yeah, JC, thanks for dying on the cross, man. I'm with you. Me and you were homies, man, till the end. You know, and that right there is the the Martin Luther version of MMT, I guess, right? So, you know, and I'm using this also as tongue-in-cheek because of the parasites of the world that feel like if they don't understand something, they've got to denigrate it. So they'll call it a cult or something like that to obscure the fact that they just don't have the aptitude to get something as basic as monetary sovereignty. Okay? Rather than get something so basic as the fact that the government created out of thin air the US dollar. It came up with its own name and everything. The US dollar. It's not something that was carved out of Mount Rushmore or something like that, or came from the bowels of Everest. It's the US dollar. The government created the word, it created the term, it created the unit of account. It's the government's unit of account. And it had to create those dollars before you could have them to be taxed in them. So the first dollar came not from a tax to the government, but from the government spending them into existence. Think about that for a minute, right? So Republicans, they are literally probably not as bad as you think. They're just fearful. They're fearful. Their lives are geared on fear. So they're fearful of the Muslims. They're fearful of the Mexicans. They're fearful of, you know, hey, if a shooter comes through here, I need to have 12 guns on me because, damn it, I'm afraid of that person. So I've got to have maximum safety. Okay? So everything they do is based in fear. So you've got to meet them at their point of need when you're talking through this. What do they always say? Man, we'll be Weimar Republic, man. We'll be Zimbabwe, man. You know? And so Republicans are living in this fear-based world What about the BRICS, dude? Oh my God, I hear China and Russia are going to have some gold system. Oh my God, what if the US dollar isn't the world reserve currency? Oh my freaking God, right? And so what we're talking about right here is a group of people that in order for you to help them see the light, you need to respect the fact, we need to respect the fact that they're walking into this game with a wiring that says that they need to be protected, they need to be safe. And so if you get that, if you start there, you notice that they're afraid of these people because they're going to come in and they're going to do bad things. They're going to do bad things. You know, the Mexicans, they deal drugs and they're bad and they're this and they're that and blah, 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 right? So this is a fear-based system. It's like, you know, if you ever heard of the term intermittent explosive disorder, it's kind of like on that bipolar, you know, trajectory. Folks see a stick on the ground, and instead of saying, it's a stick, they go, holy shit, there's a goddamn snake on the... Oh, it's a stick. It's just a stick, dude. No big deal, right? But they start off with ready to friggin' get out the hoe and chop the stick because, man, oh man, they're afraid. They start from a base of fear. Democrats, in turn, start from a belief, and I'm not talking about the elected officials, I'm talking about rank and file, right? Democrats start from a belief that the system isn't fair. And they start from a belief that we need to take care of the poor. They really do. The people do. Okay? The people would like to see balance. They would like to see the bottom lifted up. Unfortunately, the people they elect have bought into this idea that the money in the country is scarce, that we've got to, you know, we got to reduce deficits, we've got to raise taxes to pay for stuff, because otherwise we can't, how else can we have good things? Taxes are the cost of living in civilized society. Without raising taxes, there can be no libraries, there can be no roads. My God, there can be no air traffic controllers, Steve. What about it? Right? And they don't realize that the government freely creates this stuff. Whenever Congress writes a bill, it also authorizes spending. So what did the Democrats do? The Democrats decided that they were going to institute something called pay-go. They wanted to make sure that all the programs were paid for, right? They didn't even bother to think about the fact that they create money when they write a bill. They decided they were going to throw up some bullshit fiscal rule and call it fact. This is the deal, man. We got to pay for it. Go back to the 2015-2016 primaries. And if you remember the dueling banshees between Bernie and the shill, you remember her laughing and saying his ideas were pie in the sky. They're pie in the sky, dude. Pie in the frickin' sky. You can't, how are you going to pay for it? Over and over and over again, the question arose, how are you going to pay for it? Democrats are obsessed with the pay-fors. Obsessed with the pay-fors. Bernie Sanders said, we're going to do a Wall Street speculation tax. Right? So the Wall Street speculation tax is what we call a Pigovian tax, aka something bad that we don't like happening, so we're going to try and course correct it by putting a sin tax on it. Pigovian sin tax. You kind of get it? Sin as in you're a bad boy. Okay? So we're going to put a Wall Street sin tax out there. It's not going to pay for anything because those taxes are literally flushed down the toilet and deleted. That's how the system works. Birth of a dollar, spending it into the economy. Death of the dollar, returning back as a tax, being zeroed out. New money enters the economy when Congress spends. Money leaves the economy when Congress taxes. That's the deal. It's a circuit, man. It just goes like this. Problem is that it only stays a circuit as long as the federal government is putting money back into the economy. because the money that's being taxed is being deleted from the economy. Do you see this? It's not like hard to even, it's like so easy to understand that you can get baffled because you want it to be more complex. You want to have a bunch of extra steps, because after all, if it was just this easy, why in the world would they let so many people suffer? Why in the world would so many people have to die without health care? Why would they have to die from a lack of jobs? Why do families have to break up because of financial troubles? Why do kids coming out of high school have to bear the weight of thousands upon thousands of dollars of student loans unnecessarily? And that light bulb moment for all of us that have come into the fold, that know about modern monetary theory, that have learned it and now have seen the application of it and are fighting for a new deal, fighting for Medicare for all, fighting for green energy, fighting for infrastructure, fighting for paid family medical leave, fighting for a job guarantee, and bundling it together as one big package. For those of us who've got that vision and want to see that happen. There was a moment when it all hit you, when you saw the homeless guy in the street and you said, that is so unnecessary. And it's not just unnecessary because we're the richest nation on earth. It's unnecessary because it doesn't even make economic sense. Like, pretend like you don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, or Libertarian. You're just like, okay, how do I start my car? Well, I put my keys in. Well, it won't turn on. Why won't my car turn on? I just turn the key, it doesn't work. Something's wrong. I look at the gas tank and it's empty. Well, son of a bitch, I got this beautiful car. Well, it's not that beautiful. It's just a Subaru Forester, right? But I got this car and it's great. Just doesn't have any gas in it. Wonder what will happen if I put gas in the car. Do you think I'll be able to go down the road? Whoa, 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 Steve. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We gotta be very, very responsible in what we do here. So we're only going to put 1 gallon of gas in your car. All right, well, at least it'll start, right? Put the gas in, start. Hey, it's running, man. So I'm driving down the road, and all of a sudden I'm like, son of a bitch, it's stopping. Why is my car stopping? Son of a bitch, it stopped. Well, we only put 1 gallon of gas in there, Steve. You only could go 15 feet. Well, I need more gas. I'm not going anywhere without gas. What the hell? Well, we'll put another gallon in there. But then we're going to have to reduce that gallon down to a half gallon because, we got to reduce the deficit, because that gas came from somewhere and we got to reduce. You get the point, right? You fill the tank up and all of a sudden, who knows? Man, oh man, you mean to tell me we could have been doing this all along, but these losers have been telling me to reduce the deficit and be fiscally responsible? And so all of a sudden now I can drive to the beach? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. Put a little bit of gas in the car and see how far you go. Well, we stopped putting gas, or as it were, dollars into the economy. We turned that right over to banks, right? We told banks, you fill up the void. We're done spending as a government. You now fill up the void. So now all of a sudden, what did banks do? Banks started loaning money to people because that's what they were created to do. They're created to clear payments, and they're created for you to put your money in savings, and they're created to facilitate transactions, right? And to create loans. Well, guess what? When do people need to borrow money the most? Well, you buy a house, sure. You buy a car, maybe. You need a student loan, unfortunately. But you shouldn't be needing that so you can get your food for the month. You shouldn't need to borrow money so you can pay your electric bill, right? Well, what if you bleed the economy of all the gas in the car, and then all of a sudden people don't have any choice? Their job only pays them $8 an hour, but to live in the home that they're already knee-deep in, they need $9 an hour, but $9 an hour doesn't exist. So go out and get another part-time job, whatever, right? Now all of a sudden they're trapped. So what do? They go to a payday lender. They go to a payday lender to try to make ends meet. Now what happens? The debt that they had is like 1,000,000 times worse. But guess what? That person can't make their own money, can they? They can't. Not only have they earned as much as they can earn, but now they've borrowed as much as they can borrow. And now they're tapped. And now that person has a choice to default on all their loans or to commit suicide or go to jail or whatever, right? I mean, this is what happens to us. So what does MMT or modern monetary theory tell us? Well, MMT doesn't tell us really anything, but it explains how the levers of the economy go. So we have to use our brains to say, well, what could we do with the economy now that we know how it works? Well, if we know that you and I are finite beings and we can't borrow forever and we can't create our own money, then what can we do? Maybe the federal government can find a way to spend on services like Medicare for all. So we're not paying all that money out of pocket for medical care. Now all of a sudden that money is back in our pocket. Unless you're a neoliberal where you want you and I, who are finite and are unable to print our own money and are going to payday lenders to begin with, unless they want to raise our taxes to pay for things that they could readily pay for by keystrokes because they are the creator of the currency, right? Anyway, point is that as you look at each one of the groups out there that we deal with, Republicans, Democrats, Greens, my God, folks, I have many good friends that are green. But some of my largest nemesis are green too. They have decided that they would rather hold on to beliefs than learn truths. And so, while I support much of the Green New Deal, they're too steeped in myths and legends and beliefs to be of any use. And that's a shame, because they have a great set of platforms, but they can't get out of their own economic way. And because of that, it renders the good Greens, and I have many friends that are green that are running for office that I fully support, and I support full-throatedly, and I support with my wallet as well. Okay? So I want to be real clear here. I don't have a problem with the Green Party. I just have a problem with the people that refuse to learn. Just like I have a problem with the Democrats that refuse to learn. Just like I have a problem with the Republicans that refuse to learn. And just like I have a problem with the Libertarians that refuse to learn. I have a problem with people that are what I call full cups. That already think they know everything. And when you try and pour some knowledge in there, it spills all over the table. You know what I'm saying? So I look at my green friends that have a platform that largely lines up with my sensibilities. Not perfectly, but close enough. I'd support them if they actually had the shit together, but they don't. So because the National is led by people who have bought into crazy, ridiculous nonsense, I haven't been able to register as a Green. I wanted to. I really thought about it. I support Movement for a People's Party. Why is that? Because they're embracing MMT. Now, they have some things in their platform that I don't fully support either. Okay? You know, this whole idea of automation and stuff, you know, automation is not going to harm us if we actually plan for the public purpose. If we as a nation agree that we want to serve each other, we want to serve our local communities, automation should be a benefit to us all. It shouldn't be something scary. But unfortunately, many treat automation like some fearful thing. Fear-based things are not things that I embrace. I just don't have any, I have no tolerance for fear-based economics, fear-based solutions. And the basic income was created in large part by the brainchild of people like Milton Friedman, who wanted a negative income tax. And they figured this was the solution to saving capitalism by giving people more money to spend. Well, what's the difference between having more money to spend and having the actual resources that we need? A lot. There's a lot of difference, right? Because I can inflate or deflate the value of this, but the real resource, I don't care what it costs. If I have food, if I have shelter, if I have medical care, I don't care what it costs if it's coming to me for free, right? So a basic needs guarantee is far superior to a basic income guarantee. But a basic job, a public option for employment, well, that's a real game changer now, isn't it, right? Because instead of worrying about Walmart and all these other shitbird stores out there lowballing people, what if we had a federal job guarantee that was a living wage? And that living wage also came with living benefits, from health care to college to you name it. Now all of a sudden, for Walmart to be able to employ anyone, they've got to be able to meet or beat the federal job guarantee wage. They got to meet or beat that wage. Well, I don't know what the problem is, but many people think that a basic income is the solution. A basic income is a crock of shit. A basic income is status quo. A basic income is a neoliberal plot to make us all poorer. A neoliberal plot to get rid of the safety nets that our economy desperately needs and that we desperately need in times of trouble. But we could even get rid of safety nets if instead of making safety nets, we created citizen benefits, right? Screw means testing. Let's just give everybody what they need, and then we can let capitalism rest on our wants. We can worry about our wants being based in a capitalist environment, but our needs should not be. And this is kind of what I call social democracy or democratic socialism right here, okay? But regardless, as MMT people, as people that know MMT and have fought in the trenches for MMT, you realize we're not talking about anything George Soros wants. We're not Soros bought. If we are, he forgot my address. He never hooked me up with a check. Okay? It's not a psyop at all. It's called observable reality. The people that say it's a psyop are literally the people that I would call a murderer by proxy. They have literally condemned people to death by being morons, right? They're not even trying. So when you see that, you just have to write them off and move on. You've got to keep pressing on, because there are people that are picking this stuff up all over the place. Even stinking Rush Limbaugh. Megadittos, friends. I can beat a liberal with one half of my brain time behind my back, right? Even Rush Limbaugh, even though he butchered the shit out of it, okay? Even Rush Limbaugh was talking about MMT the other day. You know? Even Donald freaking Trump came out and said a while back, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. The U.S. can never go broke. It's creator of its own currency. What are you talking about? Donald fucking Trump? Yeah, Donald Trump. Doofus Trump. Even Donald Trump got this basic shit down. Right? So, as MMTers, as people that get modern monetary theories, people that understand the way the economy works, and even if we don't know it at the most detailed level, if we just understand that the economy lives and dies on whether or not our Congress appropriates money. Otherwise, we're stuck in private debt. And that's why you have all the people going, what about the banksters, right? Congress has to do its job. Whether you're Republican, whether you're Libertarian, whether you're a Green looking on the outside in, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Bernie-crat, whether you're a friggin' corporatist hack, whatever it is you are, bottom line, the federal government is the currency issuer. The Congress is the one that has control. It writes a law, it sends them over, and damn it if those dollars don't come to existence. Period. Full stop. It's that simple. Anything more than that is complicating something that doesn't need to be complicated, right? You could sit there and get into all these ticky-tack games. Think about this, right? If I tell you, before you can take your first breath in the morning, young man, you have to pat your head, rub your belly, and hop on one foot. And then after you do that for 5 minutes, you can take your first breath. Well, first of all, it's stupid. But second of all, you know you can take your first breath without doing any of that shit, right? Well, it's the same thing with our economy. We put a lot of bullshit rules and regulations in there that some people that are maybe lesser on the intellect scale put a lot of import in. And I'm saying intellect because to not understand the difference between patting your head and rubbing your tummy and then taking your first breath and knowing that the government created its own unit of account so it can't run out of it, pretty simple shit, man. Pretty simple shit. So I'm going to have to go with the fact that maybe they're slightly lesser intellect or something. Okay? Something's not quite right that they don't get this, won't get this, refuse to get this. All right? So where are we at? Where we're at is a very, very important time in our existence. We, as people that are Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent, Green, whatever, Movement for a People's Party, Progressive Independent Party, Socialist Alternative, whatever, there's nothing preventing you. Don't let your beliefs, your ideology block you from learning how the system actually does work versus the tales from the bar stool that you hear by well-meaning people that really should never speak about economics, right? Or if they should wait till they've learned them anyway. This right here is a way for the movement for a 99% to occur. The 99%, once they get rid of the myths and legends about the country being broke, about the myths and legends of the taxpayer dollar paying for things. Now all of a sudden Republicans can't complain about your abortion and you can't complain about their bombs because at the end of the day, it's not your tax dollar, it's the public money, right? It's the public money. It's the real resources of the United States. And once you realize that, now we can have a different discussion altogether. Now we can talk about what our priorities are without lying about debt and deficits, without lying about, whether we have money or the country's broke. We don't need to talk about some stupid national credit card like Obama did. All these lies of scarcity, all these eat your peas lies. No, we as a full-blown movement, party be damned, can tell our parties, can tell our friends, can tell our family, can tell everyone at our local PTA meeting the truth about sovereign economics. We can tell the gas station clerk. We can tell our boss at work. We can tell our friends at the pool club. We can tell them whatever. The bottom line is that we need to be actively sharing this stuff to everyone we come in contact with. Every single one of the town halls in your area, you need to be there. Every single radio station you need to call into. Every single alternative radio program, you need to bombard them. You need to slam and bombard Lee Camp with this. You need to slam and bombard Jimmy Dore with this. You need to slam and bombard Tim Black with this. You need to go to H.A. Goodman. You need to go to friggin' Jordan and TYT and anybody else you pay attention to. You need to go to the Wolf Pack. You need to go to the DSA. You need to go to every one of these groups. Show up and raise your hand and say, have you ever heard of modern monetary theory? And get the conversation going. You'll get negged. There'll be people that will say, oh, it's just a psyop. You're Soros bot. Trust me, I've survived worse. You'll survive it too. It's just the parasite's way of saying they don't understand, and they don't want to be looking like the dumb kid that doesn't understand. So naturally, they'll call you a cult leader or something, right? This is what dumb people do. They have no choice because they can't handle the fact that they could just say, I don't understand, teach me. So rather than do that, they got to go running around saying you're a cult or something. Don't worry about it. Don't listen to them. They're full of shit. They're the dum-dum in the room that wants to know, but they're afraid to say they don't know. So teach them too, okay? Teach them too. Even though they'll sit there and call you names, screw them. Just take care of business. Because lives, it's all about lives, right? It's all about lives. And it's all, we were joking around earlier today. I was like, I think sometimes people don't realize that if Congress has the ability to audit the Fed or end the Fed or anything else, it has the power to regulate it too. If Congress has the ability to end banks as we know it and turn them all public, then that means it also has the power to regulate them, right? But yet just now, a couple days ago, I think it was 14 Democrats and a shit ton of Republicans voted to go ahead and deregulate the banks even more. They got rid of Dodd-Frank, just a little teeny bit of support they had there, and they got rid of that too. So when people sit there and say, we're going to end the Fed. Yeah, right. Sure you are. Bravo, brother. You're on target. I can't wait to see that happen in 150 years. Not going to happen. So in other words, before we can do any of these great things, friends, my and the Fed friends would like to know that they are not going to be able to pass any bills, do any things, because otherwise they're giving private banksters money. So they can't save a life today because they got to save the Fed and end it and turn it into something that they like. You know, weird shit, man. This is what it is. It's the weirdest shit of them all. They don't understand, so damn it, we got to end it. Well, Trump's a bad president. End the presidency. End the presidency. Well, you know, I don't like Metallica, so end Metallica. Well, of course I like Metallica. I just don't like a few of the albums in between, you know, friggin' Injustice for All and up and... Anyway, point I'm making is that just because you don't like something doesn't mean the answer is, well, I'm going to end it, damn it. I'm going to end it. Yeah. You know? I mean, think about it. It's like a child. Time to put the spankings on the bottom. We put the spankings on the bottom. Go in the corner like a good little boy. Eat your porridge. I mean, seriously. I mean, what kind of children don't realize that if you have the power to end something, you have the power to reform something? How many people don't understand that if you have the power to deregulate something, you have the power to regulate something? I mean, you got to be like less than dull as spoons not to get that, right? I mean, seriously, if you think that the Congress has the power to end the Fed and to end all these different things and to end banks as we know it, then they have the ability to regulate them too. And this is the bottom line. This is why this is so freaking over the top doofus. This is why I have so little patience anymore, is because the kids that want to tell you how it is, they haven't done the homework, etc., they hog up all your time with their belief system. Their beliefs. And damn it, you got to try. All beliefs are equal. No, they're not. No, they're not. All beliefs are not equal. Some are grounded in facts and some are grounded in myths and legends. It's just the deal, man. It's just the deal. 1 + 1 = 2. I'm sorry. How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? How many fingers am I holding up? And the Fed. You know, we can get so creative. We can get so creative that we create ourselves right out of a solution. We lose the chance to be effective. And so, as people that are in the know, it's real easy to lose focus. It's real easy to get defeated because there's so many zombies coming at the wall. If y'all saw World War Z, do y'all remember that Brad Pitt movie, World War Z, where the zombies are slamming up against the wall and they just keep climbing the wall, dying and climbing? That's what these end the Fedders are. That's what these folks that don't understand economics are like. I mean, you're just sitting there looking over the wall, watching the zombie horde slam up against it over and over and over again. And so this right here is what we're dealing with. As a nonpartisan movement, we've got to disabuse Republicans, we got to disabuse Democrats, and we got to disabuse LOL libertarians and anarcho-capitalists and anarchists and this and that and the other. We got to disabuse all of them. And we got to understand the language they speak so that we can overcome their objections, not the ones we'd like to answer, the ones they ask. That's the deal. That's the deal. That's the end game here. If somebody is not prepared to hear Joe Firestone, for example, give a very, very detailed explanation down to the widget. And they want a higher level explanation from somebody that maybe doesn't have all the details in there, but they say it in 3 or 4 steps. That's what they need to hear. There are many people out there that want to know every nuance of it. And Joe has got that down in spades. Joe fits another mold. Do you see what I'm saying? We have people on this team like Rocco. Rocco goes out there into troll territory. I mean, we're talking about, he goes on these shows where the people watching it, sitting there with blue hair and spitting spitballs and telling you you're Soros bought, oh my God, pedogate, oh my God this, oh my God that. And there's Rocco in the friggin' belly of the beast talking MMT. I got to give Rocco mega props. Rocco out there kicking ass in Trollville, right? I don't know how he does it because I couldn't stand it. It was above my pay grade to survive that kind of stuff. But he did it. You know? So, you know, I look at this and I look at Jeffrey Ginter. Jeffrey Ginter, let love rule, right? Jeffrey Ginter, Mr. Love. Peace and love, Jeffrey Ginter, is out there on Citizens Media talking with somebody else. It's growing. It's growing and growing and growing. Different people are hearing different things. You know what I'm saying? Different people are picking it up. You go on Twitter. On Twitter, I'm involved in no less than like 10 or 15 really good tweet threads where people are really, really talking economics, hardcore. I mean, some of the best discussions ever on economics are on Twitter right now. You got people that are a little bit out there over there on Reddit, and now you got Minds and MeWe, where all the people that think the Fed is made up of nothing but evil Jews. They're over there talking their games and everything too. But we still got to talk to them too, right? We got to talk to them all. It's a big job, but somebody's got to do it. If not me, who? If not us, who? You know what I mean? If not now, when? So it's up to us. And this is what I'm saying. You've got to tailor your message to the audience that you're talking to. You've got to actually break it down. And I want to give one more prop too. Trish Roberts has been out there actively, I mean, without even being asked, taking our videos and cutting them up and giving us really, really great clips. I mean, she made the one about the fractional reserve system, the non-existent fractional reserve system that I did the other day in black and white. It's beautiful. I was so thrilled when I got that great music track in the back. Check it out. It's on our page. And she also went ahead and took the UMKC speech that I gave in front of Kelton. I'm sitting there giving my speech, and there's Stephanie Kelton sitting 3 rows back. And I got the pleasure of being able to say, how many people came to this conference as a result of Real Progressives? And you saw all the hands go up, and you could hear in the video, you could hear it. It was like, oh my God. I like that. That's what I'm talking about. You know why? Because we consistently talk MMT. And if you consistently look at the news headlines and think, how can you address this news headline? When you go into Bernie Kratz, when you go into Sandernistas, when you go into all these other places where the people aren't really deep, they're not real deep. They like saying they're superficial, yay us, vote blue, go Bernie, you know, that kind of stuff. They're not real deep thinkers. But you can go in those places, you can follow the headlines, and you can talk to them. Hey, did you know Sanders Institute was putting out information about getting rid of student loans and student debt by Stephanie Kelton and the MMT crew of Levy Institute? Did you know that? Well, there you go. There's Jane Sanders talking to Stephanie Kelton on the video from Sanders Institute. So there you go. You're now talking to them. Instead going, I'll never support Bernie. Remember, your first goal should be to teach them economics so that they're not knuckleheads anymore. If you lead off with your chin and you tell them, I hate Bernie, count on the clock coming this way. Just count on it. You're not going to get to the point where you can talk to them about economics. They've already tuned you out. You're done. You know, you want to talk about the fascist state, the colonization, whatever. You want to use all these terms that are very, very acerbic and strident that literally block people from hearing you. Go ahead. Okay? I am guilty of that because I use the term murderer by proxy. Why do I do that? Because how many people give a flying fuck about economics? How many people actually care about economics? Most people didn't even take it in college because they couldn't stand it. They didn't want to hear economics. Just want to know that their paycheck's coming, right? So in order for people to really understand the weight of sitting there running around going, we got to reduce the deficit, we got to reduce the deficit. You need to explain to them that the homeless guy over there, that guy right there, is dead because of them reducing the deficit. And once they tie in together that taking money away from special programs is lethal to the poor, once they start realizing that reducing the deficit is literally killing people, may not get them all, but I got plenty, because we got a movement brewing, my friends. We got a big movement. I'm telling you, a huge movement. For many, many years, I've watched the MMTers talking. I've watched them. They're wonderful people. Very, very, very calm. They try to be very sweet. They try not to be offensive. Okay? They try very hard to talk to everybody very politely. They try to work very, very smoothly in and out, and they're very kind people. Okay? But what they didn't have was somebody to sit there and be the activist for them, to run out there and literally show people, this is what your reduced the deficit did to my family. This is what you did to this family. This is what reducing the deficit did to that dead child hanging from a tree over there. When you start putting up dollar figures, you start showing what the cause and effect of austerity is. Grenfell Towers burned to the ground. Why? Government austerity. Why is that? Because people don't know any better. Whose job is it to clear it up? Well, I'm waiting for Bernie. Bernie Sanders doesn't say it. It ain't true. So I can't say it. That's a belief. That's a problem. That's religion. We got to get rid of that shit, right? Or we got to work around it so that people understand, hey, Bernie may not have said it, but Bernie sure has invested a lot of time in bringing MMTers into the fold. He's got Stephanie over there. He has worked with Randall Ray. He's worked with a bunch of people. Now, that doesn't mean you have to love Bernie. We're not talking about, being a Bernie fan. I'm not here to sell you Bernie. I'm here to sell you that you don't need to poke people with that stuff to get past the point that they need to understand when someone says we got to raise taxes to pay for things. They're lying. They're telling you a fib. They're telling you a story, or they're economically illiterate. Either one. Both are lethal. Neither one of them's not lethal. Both are lethal. Right? So you got to take your partisan hat and you got to throw it over here. You got to get rid of it. It doesn't work. Because MMT destroys the boundaries of partisanship. Most of the reasons Republicans don't want the government to spend are based in faulty logic. Most of the reasons Democrats want to reduce the deficit is based in faulty logic. Most of the reason Greens do whatever they do is because of very bad logic. Okay? You put it all together, and you just got to debunk their logic or lack thereof and show them. And that's why getting rid of the partisanship and just focusing on macroeconomic reality, operational reality, how shit really works. And then you could say, now where do you fall? Now that you understand there's no scarcity of dollars, now that you understand the U.S. can never go broke on debt denominated in its own currency, now that you understand this stuff, now what are you going to do? Are you still going to double down on reducing the deficit? Are you still going to double down? I mean, let me tell you something. If you want to have fun, next debate, next presidential debate, next whatever, make sure you have whatever your drink of choice is and sit around with each other. And every time they tell an economic fallacy, drink. The economic drinking game. I'm telling you what, you'll get sloppy drunk before the first 10 minutes of the debate is over. That's how bad it is. You'll hear it, and it's going to be like torture. It's going to be like nails down a chalkboard once you understand the bullshit. And the problem is, your job, my job, is to make sure all the people watching it know it's bullshit too. Are you up for the challenge? Because this is our challenge. This is the call to arms. This is the call to arms, my friends. This is it. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we separate the wheat from the chaff. and every other little cliche I could come up with. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, bases loaded. You're at the plate. You swinging for the fence? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight. This was fun for me. I've been trying to get around to this, but I felt like it was really important for you all to see that what we're fighting is not some sort of economic alternative truth. We're dealing with fake beliefs. We're dealing with things that have just been socialized into people. And MMT is the great surgical truth that slices through the bullshit. Anyway, I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives. Hoping you all have a great night, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.